Since Epic Universe is now open at Universal Orlando Resort, it's time for us to turn our focus to the original Universal Studios park. And that is, of course, Universal Studios Florida. I'm Scott. This is Steve. So I'm going to go straight to you, Steve. Is it the weakest park of the Universal bunch?
I do think it is at the moment.
Yeah.
I have to say that the park has almost taken a step backwards over time rather than going forwards.
Yeah.
Some people be like, Steve, what do you mean? How can a park be great and start getting worse? Well, unfortunately, I think some of the more recent additions in recent years have been worse than the replacements of what they've taken out. And I think that's been a bit of the theme at the park for quite some time. So I'd definitely say since the mid 2000s, that has been the case.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you should say that because obviously I was a late starter with Florida. I didn't actually go Florida until 2017. And the rides that I was really interested in doing at Universal were gone by the time I went. Like, for example, the Jaws ride, Back to the Future things, they were all gone by the time I first went to the park. And having been there in May 2017, I was kind of like, I don't like this park. It's not really for me. Whereas with Islands of Adventure, I enjoyed it, but it still wasn't that like elite park that it is now. Whereas whilst Islands of Adventure has improved in that time, Studios just doesn't seem to progress in any which way other than Halloween Horror Nights. Now, of course, that is a standalone event. You don't really go for the park for Halloween Horror Nights. You go for the horrors. So the park itself, I'm going to put you on the spot with this, mate. Which rides would you keep? Which rides would you get rid of?
I'd keep the Mummy.
Yeah.
Keep Transformers.
Yes.
Everything else can go.
Everything else can go.
Everything else can go.
Oh, wow. Okay, I thought maybe a few more things,
Maybe Men in Black's quite good, so I'll probably keep that as well, to be fair.
Surely you'd keep Fast and Furious, knowing how
Absolutely
much you like
not.
it.
Absolutely not. That needs to go in the bin, that one.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with, obviously, Rip Ride Rocket is going.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how far we are with the replacement with that. There's obviously a lot of talk that it's going to be an Intamin. Do we know that that's definite? Is it going to be for sure an Intamin coaster? What's the theme going to be? Is it going to be family? Is it going to be thrill? So before obviously there is leaked plans out there and rumors, but we don't know if they're exactly official. So what is it you hope that they do with that space?
To be fair, it's not a very big space.
No.
Rip Ride Rocket actually is kind of a... They realised that with Islands opening, they needed some kind of thrill roller coaster over at the Universal Studios. For some reason, Mara got involved, and which I don't understand. Like how they became. They were the people who were like, "We're going to build this super large roller coaster." They'd never done anything like it before. They probably weren't the best choice
No.
for that installation. But I know that in the early noughties, the was it X-Core design was very popular with obviously the first one being G-Force at Drayton Manor, with it being an extendable coaster. Actually, I'd probably take G-Force over Rip Ride Rocket. And then obviously they created this like theme for it as well around a rock star or pretend rock star. And I you know what, it had its time. When it opened, it was quite innovative because it actually had onboard audio, which was still quite a rare thing to have on a roller coaster. And that was like its big selling point. Like you could select what song you want to listen to. But the footprint itself, it's very long and narrow, and it's quite interesting because it runs between the theme park and the sound stages that used to be on the tram tour, because they did actually used to do a tram tour around the stage, and they actually used to be used for certain productions. I know that Nickelodeon had a big base in that park back in the day. The area is empty now, but I think it was replaced by the Blue Man Group. Were in that area. I might be wrong, but it's all down that end of the park anyway. And I believe that's all empty at the moment. So they've got that space they can use for a new attraction. It's quite a large space, I believe. So you could have some kind of indoor element to a roller coaster, well, a new roller coaster. And I do hope they go with Intamin, as the current design roller coaster they've got. One, I'm not a fan of the vertical lift that much, especially in the Florida sunshine.
Yeah.
You really feel it going up on that lift hill. And the actual ride layout isn't particularly exciting. It doesn't really do any inversions, and the core itself is not a brilliant design. It's quite uncomfortable, quite clunky. The center of gravity is off on it, so it just feels not a comfortable experience. I often miss it, and that's either because it's technically down with downtime, as it's plagued with technical issues, or I'm just not interested in doing it because I'll see it running and think, oh well, I've only got one song to pick from now. Yeah, and am I gonna like that one song?
I just don't like it. I mean, the first time I did it in 2017, I was kind of under the impression that this was going to be like one of the big hitters of my first trip to Florida, and I was just uncomfortable from the off. I was just like, I just don't like this ride at all. And ever since, I've kind of, I had quite a big break between my first visit to Florida and the last few I've done. And every time I go, I'm like, do I really need to go on it? I mean, the last time I actually went on Rip Ride Rockit was 2022, because the couple of times I went with you since that visit, I've just been like, I'm not interested. I just don't like it. I think, like you say, the seats are uncomfortable. The restraint's uncomfortable. The layout isn't anything special. And that vertical lift hill in that sunshine, even if you've got your sunglasses with a strap on the back of it, it's still unpleasant looking directly. And I mean, what do you get told when you're a child? Don't look at the sun.
Yeah, it's a bit hard not to when you're staring straight at it. I think that also, like, for capacity reasons as well, it's quite a low throughput.
Yeah.
For a roller coaster of that size, with it only taking 12 people per dispatch, essentially.
Yeah, of course. I'd actually not really considered that as well, but that is another good reason, really.
Dispatches are only like every minute.
Yeah.
So it's a very low throughput. But the thing is, with a low throughput, you'd expect it to have high weights.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem to be the case, as the last few visits there. Like, well, if it's busy, it will get a weight. But on the days I've been, it's not been a particularly busy, popular attraction. I find that rides like the Mummy and even Transformers have much bigger weights than that roller coaster with hardly any throughput. So I think its days are definitely numbered. I think they've confirmed it now. September, it's going to be imploded.
I think it's.
Sorry, since Kingdom Come, I just like using that word.
You got me off guard there. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I think it's September the 9th or something like that. It closes for me. Good. Put it in the bin. I'm quite happy to see it gone. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Intamin's work. If they replace it with something of a similar footprint, that's fine with me. Obviously, they've been pushing their vertical lift design. So again, you're still going to have that issue of looking straight up. But if it's a launch, why not? There is rumours of like a Ghostbusters themed coaster to replace it. I don't know how true that is, but I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fantastic idea. The Ghostbusters is one of those timeless IPs.
Yes.
A bit like Back to the Future,
Yeah.
and some of the other like movies that they've got at their parks, and I think that's where they've kind of started to move away from, because there used to be a great Ghostbusters show there, which is no longer there. They used to have a Beetlejuice attraction, and obviously the Earthquake attraction. I'm going to lead on to why I think this park is not as good as the others, and that's because a lot of these older attractions were removed and replaced with lesser attractions. So the Ghostbusters show was replaced with Twister. I don't know if you remember. I think that had closed by the time you would have been out there.
Oh, it was gone.
And then it became a Jimmy Fallon Race Through New York. And the issue with that is that the newer, like, Twister wasn't as good as the Ghostbusters show. And then Jimmy Fallon was as good as Twister. and this story continues through other areas of the park as well. When you go to the Fast and Furious attraction, he took out 2 attractions for that. So he took out Beetlejuice and Earthquake, which, although Earthquake, I will admit, was dated, it did look a little bit, how do I put it politely, tired in its later years. But it was still a fantastic ride experience, and it could have probably been quite easily tidied up to become something a little bit more special. It's a special effects ride, essentially.
Yeah.
And it all goes wrong with it being an earthquake, and, the road collapses down, and you got explosions and lots of water. And it was just a fantastic, exciting experience, which you kind of want in a movie theme park. And then, obviously, Simpsons, just Simpsons, that can go.
I've not done that since 2017. The thing is, I couldn't tell you the last time I watched The Simpsons. You're probably talking like 1995. It's just no interest.
I think that Simpsons is like. I think enough people know The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I don't mind The Simpsons. You know, if it's on, I'll watch it. One of those kind of situations. But I think that when they took out Back to the Future, which everybody loved, and then replaced it with this badly synced replacement.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The ride vehicles just don't line. One, you're sitting in a DeLorean still as well, a pink DeLorean. It just doesn't really make sense. I think that the thing is, this repeats around the park too much. I'd say the only thing that they have replaced that is better than what it had before, and even then, I don't know if it is better. I quite liked what was there before. Is Jaws?
Yeah,
being replaced with the Gringotts. And as much as this area of the park is, you feel like you're in Harry Potter.
Yeah,
it's one extremely crowded and cramped in that area.
It's just not enough to do. It's just kind of like
ride,
it's just like you're boxed into this tiny space, and it is like amazingly done. The theming is amazing, and I'm sure Harry Potter fans love it. But it's just like, you just condensed into this tiny space. It's like, my issue with like this park is that none of the themes last very long. And it's kind of like the theming that they have for everything that they've got is really well done, but it's just never lasts long enough. It's kind of like, oh, we've got all these IPs, we need to get as many in as we can, whereas there's no sort of structure to it. I feel like the Harry Potter stuff could have expanded out further. You know, like they've done in Islands of Adventure. They could have made it a much bigger area. And obviously the Potter fans would love this. And it would just give a lot more for them to do. But like you say, you've got the train that takes you to the other park, and you've got Gringotts, which the theming inside the station and in the ride is really good. I'm sure many people love it. I think it's quite a weak coaster. It's fun, but I don't think it's great. I just feel like they could have had a bit more.
Yeah, and I think that just having the one attraction in that area is a massive shame, because it's a beautifully done area.
Yeah.
And but like I say, it's so cramped in there. I actively avoid going in that area unless I know it's going to be very quiet. Just because I can't deal with having to squeeze past people just to get to a ride. Like it's designed to be like that because it is meant to be an alleyway, isn't it? You know, so it's meant to be a tight space. But at a theme park, I don't know if it necessarily works when you're trying to squeeze everyone in through such a narrow walkway. So I'm not a fan of it, really. Would I remove that? I probably wouldn't. No. I feel like the Gringotts and the Harry Potter would actually stay. In hindsight, I think that would. It's good enough to remain in the park. I would like to see it expanded. There is some expansion plots near it. So
okay.
The at the moment they have a disused stage show they only use for Halloween Horror Nights at the moment. That would be prime space for an expansion of Harry Potter. You disagree because you like that show, but,
to be fair, I think it's coming back this year, and then that's it.
Well, I think it would move to a different stage in the park, because they have got another stage down by E.T., which is the animal show.
Okay.
So I think that would be a great place to move that show over there and then expand the Harry Potter, because it's already very good. Why not make it better?
Yeah, I don't know how true what I've read about it is, but there was talk that Nightmare Fuel wasn't going to come back for Horror Nights this year, but I think it's back for this year and then not the year after. It all depends on contracts, obviously, but sticking with the Harry Potter stuff, I would definitely, even though I'm not a fan of Potter, I would definitely look at making that area bigger.
Yeah.
Have another Harry Potter ride, and then it's not as sort of crammed in, and then you just lose a bit of that disjointed feeling in the park, because I'd leave Men in Black. I think Men in Black's brilliant, even though I can't remember it because of The Flash. But no, seriously, I think from start to finish, it's a great attraction. And
I agree.
I wouldn't change that at all. But I feel like the areas leading up to it, Simpsons and then basically Potter and the area you're talking about with the show building, I'd expand the Potter area as much as they can, get another attraction in there. On the other side, Simpsons, it's got to go. Like, it really has to go, and something needs doing with that space. Obviously, you can't have Potter there and across itself because then Men in Black's in trouble. But I'd definitely be looking at changing. See, an interesting theory I read on Twitter the other day is, I've mentioned this a few times, Warner Brothers are in trouble financially. Like, they are struggling as a movie company and just as a company in general. Their stock has dropped and dropped and dropped. And for some of the decisions they've made over the last 10 years, they probably deserve it. But there's constantly rumours about Universal buying Warner Brothers. If Universal buy Warner Brothers, they have got a whole lot of IP that they can delve into. And it gives a lot of potential for both parks. Because if they do end up getting the license for DC, I'm sure Six Flags would be delighted about this. But if they get it and if they own it, then there's not really a lot Six Flags can do about it. If it's their IP, they can use it. Now, I'm sure they'll come to some sort of agreement on licensing. But you've got a whole big area there that you can turn into a DC area. You know, you can basically flatten The Simpsons and have a DC area. You can have a Justice League themed attraction or Batman or Superman, all things that are very popular.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that'd be a fantastic use of the space. I just the park itself has some. I think that at the moment they're kind of relying on the street entertainment quite a lot as well, which I will admit was absolutely fantastic when we recently were out there. I think that was better than it has been on previous visits.
Yeah.
There was a lot more characters and roaming characters out and about, and I think Universal really need to like use that while they're having this rethink. I think that Universal Studios, the studio park, is going to have a lot of investment over the next 10 years.
Yeah, I do.
I think that we're going to see a lot of big changes there. I think Simpsons going is pretty much a certain. It's the popularity is quite low of that area. The queue times pretty much low all the time. It doesn't really get the big queues anymore like it used to. And I don't think it's ever felt like a proper area in the park as well. It's just something you walk past to get to Men in Black, or if you're doing the long route round towards Diagon Alley. But there's so many places in that park that really could be developed. Because when you look at like the original rides that they used to have, like you had Jaws, you had Kongfrontation, which was an amazing attraction that actually got replaced by the Mummy, which, to be fair, is probably a step up from what it was. Is one of the few occasions where they've replaced something and it's been better at that park. I just think they need to sit down and think really carefully about what is the vision for this area and how do we make people feel like they're going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Because they did it really well with Velocicoaster. They've done it really well with Epic Universe. However, Studios is more, or in the past, being more about making the movie. So more about the production of the movie. And I think they need to move away from that a little bit and start moving more towards like actual experiences where you feel like you're going in a movie. You're going to help. Like Back to the Future was a great example when that was there. You had to help Doc Brown stop Biff.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and you were immersed. You're going in that DeLorean. You're going to make sure that Biff is stopped, and they bring you into the movie. Experiences like that I really like. It's like with Velocicoaster. You are going to try out this new roller coaster they built in the Velociraptor paddock. Bad idea.
That's the thing with that. The whole, as soon as you join the queue, you just build up to the whole point of what the story of the ride is. And whilst obviously it's not the best themed ride in the world, it is for me one of the best themed coasters, because if you're a Jurassic Park fan, straight away as soon as you join that queue, you're in the story. And it's like you are part of a Jurassic Park film that doesn't exist, but you're in a little like spin-off from it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what Studios is missing. Can I just go back to the point of entertainment though? The visit we've just done was the first time I've ever seen characters outside Mel's Drive-In.
Yeah.
Drive-In. Sorry. I'm so used to it being called Mel's Die-In at Halloween.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mel's Drive-In. It's the first time I've ever seen characters and cars outside it other than the cars that are always there. There was loads of cars. There was loads of characters. There's Marilyn Monroe. Then they've got Beetlejuice inside the diner. It was like, where was this last time? It was like they've gone on a massive push. But also, the mega movie parade is insanely good. Like the little vehicles, the floats that they're driving on, the characters, the music. That is what I sort of think Studios should be, and they just need to advanced at with the rides now.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I thought that the characters really stepped up the game since I was last there. They were everywhere. Like, everywhere you walked, there was characters. Even in Harry Potter, they have had that one for a while now. But I remember the last time I was there, it wasn't. I don't think they were using it. It was like all closed up. But it was nice to see them actually pushing the character experiences a lot more in Universal. I think that when you have that interaction, like you said about Mel's Drive-In, for instance, there was that show there, that they're really pushing the entertainment. And I think at the moment, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because I think they know that they've built these 2 amazing theme parks. And when you think of the entertainment at, let's say, and I'm going to say it quite negatively, Islands of Adventure, I don't think the entertainment there is anywhere near the level of
is there any
studio. Well, you've got occasional meet and greets, but it's not. You have the Raptor encounter.
Oh, of course, you get like Wolverine and so on. But they're not great, are they? They just get a photo, off you go.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that when we were there, we were having a chat with Scooby Doo and the gang. And it was just brilliant. It was a good laugh, wasn't it? And
I don't know if we've got video footage of that, but those interactions were great. I mean, you were sat waiting for the parade and you were kind of like, I'm not really that interested in meeting Scooby-Doo and the gang. And then me and Andy went and they were like, have you got Scooby snacks? So we were like, I've got an idea. And we told them that you'd ate them. And then they were shouting you across the walkway.
Sorry, Scooby.
But it was the kind of brilliant interactions that
and the parade itself was absolutely, the parade is one of the best parades I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit disappointed that not more people were stopping to watch it.
Same.
Because it was a fantastic parade, and I would love to see them expand on it even more than what they have done. They have tried doing parades in the past, and they've never really done it on a big scale. I think this is the first time they've gone, right, let's make a decent parade.
Yeah.
And it is decent. If you're out there and it's on, don't miss it. You've got to watch it.
Well, remember when I first suggested it last year to you and Andy, and you both went, a Universal parade, it won't be very good. And I'm like, no, I've seen YouTube videos of it. We need to watch it. And we've watched it twice now.
Yeah.
And already, like, the trip in September, the group that's going, they're like, we need to see this parade. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. I've even checked what time it's on. It's on 2:00 when we're there. So it's like, yeah, I'm in. I'll watch it again.
Yeah. You got to do it. Let's move back to rides a little bit, because the entertainment we've gathered is great at Universal Studios.
Yes, it is.
But the park itself overall is lacking in ride hardware. So what would you like to see in some of the more dead places? So they've started to push Minions towards the front of the park now.
Yeah.
You've got 2 Minions attractions next to each other.
So this is my problem with studios, is that straight away there's not a strong attraction at the front of the park. You kind of have to walk and walk and walk until you find something that you actually want to stop and do, whether that be Transformers or further back being Harry Potter or Men in Black. So I feel like, what I am going to say is, no Wicked lands, please. Like, obviously they've got the Wicked pop-up thing near the front of the park. And this is the problem with studios. For me, it feels like a very disjointed park, because you walk in, walk straight down, and then you've obviously got the Minions stuff. At the end, you've got Jimmy Fallon, Rip Ride Rocket. But then if you turn right, you've got Wicked, then Born Spectacular, Hollywood. And it's just like, what is this place trying to be? It's like there's no chemistry between each attraction. Like, nothing fits in. It's all just wishy-washy. Oh, I've got an idea, just put that in. So I'd like, more than like thinking about, this type of ride or that type of ride, I just want there to be some sort of, I don't know what the word is, a proper blend of attractions. You know, if you're going to have like the Transformers, have something else that's similar to it nearby, or expand the Transformers into a second attraction, or just don't just have so many different things right next to each other, because it just feels so disjointed.
Yeah, I totally got what you mean. There's no theme as such to entangling each area of the park, bar obviously Harry Potter and The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Like, Men in Black is a standalone attraction.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have like The Mummy, which again, it's a standalone attraction. I ideally would like to see that become like an Egypt area or some kind of, and get rid of the film set. It's no longer a film set, because that's the theme it's on now. You are on set, and then the Mummy is obviously it becomes a real curse, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think you don't need that. Just make it Egypt, and then just expand on the areas, make them immersive lands again. Because it was, when it opened, it was Hollywood was making the movies.
Yeah.
There was a lot of movie production shows, and it was all about making the movies. And I think that's great. Maybe move that to Hollywood, the actual Hollywood park. And bring more like the, because they haven't got any active studios, I believe, there anymore.
No, they haven't.
They might have some odd things going on, but it's not. They don't do big productions there.
Well,
anymore.
no, they mostly use those studio buildings now for Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would imagine that they probably use them for filming adverts for the park. You know, like Halloween Horror Nights, stuff like the reveals and such stuff. But already when we were there recently, which was the start of May, I already noticed that they were working on Halloween Horror Nights stuff behind the attractions we were doing. And interestingly, on the subject of, like you said earlier on, where Rip Ride Rockit goes, when you're at Halloween Horror Nights, you actually see more of Rip Ride Rockit than you do when Halloween Horror Nights isn't on.
Yeah, I noticed that when I did
it's strange, isn't it? But for me, I just think the park just needs to be modernized. I don't particularly care for which particular IPs, what particular rides. I just think they need to modernize and just stop the park feeling so disjointed. I actually really like the Hollywood area, but it's just like, it doesn't fit. And because if you walk a bit further on, like I say, you've got Transformers and then Harry Potter, and it's like, how does all this fit together? Like, there's no like proper flow where you flow from one area to the other. Like, for an example, in Epic Universe, obviously you've got the portals to take you in and out of each area. Islands of Adventure, you flow really nicely from area to area. 1 minute, you're near Poseidon's Fury, and then you just flow nicely towards Jurassic Park or towards Harry Potter. Or when you're coming out of Jurassic Park, you flow into Toon Lagoon, into the comic book strip. It's all seamless. It's not a big drastic, everything's just changed. It just seamlessly happens. You don't notice it happening. It just happens. Whereas at studios, you're like, that's different, and nothing fits in.
Well, it doesn't help that you've got obviously Hollywood, New York, and San Francisco as your areas.
Yeah.
And you kind of limiting what you can do with those particular areas, because where it's San Francisco, that's where Earthquake was. And obviously that's now gone. Now we have Fast and Furious, and I don't know, just not nothing really ties up anymore. Like, give me the bulldoze. I'm going to go and bulldoze that area first.
Yeah, fair enough. That's the thing. The issue that I've got with, or what I think the issue is with studios, is there is probably a lot that they can do, but can they actually do it without disrupting Halloween Horror Nights? Which I know for you is not your favourite thing, but for a lot of people it is, and it is a world-class, world-renowned event that people flock to from every single country, and it is one of the most popular events in any theme park anywhere in the world. So it's like, do you disrupt that because you need to update the park it's in? Or do you take the risk of moving that to Islands of Adventure like they've done in the past for a couple of years? Now, before filming this video, I've actually watched a couple of videos of Halloween Horror Nights in Islands of Adventure, and it looks so out of place.
Yeah, I think that the issue of Islands of Adventure being your Halloween Horror Nights place is you don't have the sound stages.
No, exactly.
And I think that for the mazes and everything, you need to have that. That's one blessing in disguise, really, with the moving away from the tram tour and the actual studio productions there.
Yeah.
And they can use these spaces to build some really impressive sets
Yes.
for scare mazes. It's like the perfect combination. You've got loads of buildings you can use.
Yeah, and they do. That's the thing. And the thing is, even though when you're entering them, you know that you're going into a film studio or a film set, when you get in there, you're immersed into whatever the theme of the maze is. They do it so well that they take you completely out of, I'm in a theme park in a film studio, to I'm actually in this scary sort of realm that I've entered.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like you probably could keep most of that going on, because there's enough existing real estate you can bulldoze to put other new things in. The Simpsons quite a big area. I think there is some space around the back of the Simpsons as well, which could be used. So there's plenty of things they could do with that area. I just think they need to really sit down and think, right, let's build a land rather than replacing attractions. Like, right, if we're gonna replace the Simpsons, let's replace it with a whole new land. If we're gonna replace Fast and Furious, let's replace it with a whole new land. And maybe move away from having San Francisco, New York, Hollywood, and start replacing them with actual immersive themed areas.
Yeah, well, the rumours of Universal buying Warner Brothers simply won't go away. Or, sorry, Comcast buying Warner Brothers, which obviously is the company that owns Universal. If that happens, I would be willing to predict that there will be a DC-themed land in studios within the next 10 years. Obviously, a lot is riding on a film that's coming out in July, something that, even though I'm a big fan of the franchise, won't be watching because I don't agree with how that film has come about. So if that fails, which I kind of hope it does, I do think that we're going to see a situation where Universal do end up in their parks having Warner Brothers IPs as well as their own, which gives them such a big pool of new things to work with. Obviously, that's not confirmed and not guaranteed, but if that was to happen, then you're going to see changes in studios that basically works with that.
I'm trying to think of what IPs that Warner Brothers have off the top of my head. I know.
So obviously you've got Batman, Superman, all like DC Comics, but you've got like Looney Tunes as well.
Okay, that'd be, to be fair, that would probably be a really good refresh for Toon Lagoon.
Yeah.
As I feel that's quite a lacking area of Islands of Adventure. But I do think it'd be great to see, some of these IPs come in from, if they do go down that route.
Yeah.
Some of the Warner Brother IPs. And do you not think that Superhero Island over at Islands of Adventure would potentially become DC?
Absolutely, because obviously the issue they've got with that is that they've got a Disney IP.
Yeah.
Because obviously now Marvel is owned by Disney, and that's Hulk, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and so on, which obviously is Superhero Island. So the thing is, in that instance, you're removing the Hulk, I think, because so many people think of the Hulk as the Hulk. Even if you rebrand that to say Superman,
paint it blue and red. That's
paint it blue and red. Yeah, literally. I think people will still be like, "Oh, that was the Hulk." I don't think you'd ever get away from that. And I think that Universal are quite ruthless, as we've seen with Dragon Challenge or Dueling Dragons, where they'll go, "That's had its day. Get rid of it." Would I be upset about that? Yes and no. But that is for another video.
It is. It is.
And we potentially will do that soon. But for now, I think it's fair to say that Universal Studios Florida is by far the weakest Universal park that I've been to. I've only done the ones in Florida so far. That will change next year when I go to California. And obviously when they come to the UK, hopefully by that point we'll have done more of the parks too that Universal own. But generally speaking, in Florida, I think it's by far the weakest Universal attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Studios is, now with Epic Universe, Islands of Adventure have definitely upped the game over the last few years. Studios feels like the unloved park of the three. With Epic Universe being so good now, I think they need to really focus that attention on bringing Studios back up to be on the same par as the other two parks.
Yeah, and it's not going to be an easy task, but I think I'm already seeing a lot of comments online about, Epic Universe expansion. Just chill out on that, eh? Let's have Studios sorted out first.
If they're making the money,
well, do them all.
Go for it. Like if they're pulling in the money and the parks are popular, which, judging by what's being mentioned, I believe they've taken a fair share away from Disney over the past couple of years. They could well start multiple expansion projects across the parks.
Well, if it's going to, the thing that always annoys me with sort of Orlando is it's all Disney, Disney, Disney. Now, maybe that would have been the case 20 years ago, but I think the fact people still overlook Universal is just bonkers.
Well, I was talking to my cousin yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I really want to go and do that Disney park you went to." And I didn't do Disney. It's like, "Oh, no, it's only Disney." I was like, "No, Universal." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "No, you need to go Universal."
Yeah, exactly.
You need to go.
it does do my head in, but unfortunately, that is just branding, and that's the way it works. And the thing is, as well, when I first sort of thought about going to Universal, I wasn't aware of just sort of how much they'd got. I thought it was just going to be a tiny little Studios park, and then when I actually researched it, I was like, okay, there's a lot there I want to do. Yeah, and I'm going back like 20 years ago here when I was a teenager, because I didn't really know of what they'd got. But when you're looking at all these different things in the park, going like the Jaws ride and so on, it's like, I need to go there. And obviously a lot of the stuff's gone that I wanted to do originally, but they're forever growing. So it's just one of those where it's like, this park or these parks can just keep getting better.
Yeah, no, definitely. As you said, you really fancy seeing DC take it back. I would love to see I'd love to see Hill Valley, Back to the Future,
Yeah.
back in the park, because it's such a great movie. It'd be great to have a roller coaster launching, themed to like a DeLorean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Accelerated to 88 miles an hour, and then seeing some serious.
Why not? I mean, that might be what replaces Rip Ride Rocket.
We don't know, do we? But I'm just throwing it out there. I think that would be fantastic.
I'm not like saying I want a DC area in Universal Parks. I just think if they end up going down that route, I'd certainly be happy with it, because obviously at the minute it's licensed by Six Flags, and the strangest thing about that is the park that no longer is owned by Six Flags is probably the best example of the DC branding, which is Park Warner Madrid, that I've been to anyway. I know the Abu Dhabi, I think it is park, or Dubai, it's really popular, the Warner Brothers park, but they don't have Batman Gotham City Escape. And that is so well themed and so well done compared to any of the Six Flags sort of Batman coasters. Whereas I think if Universal got hold of that IP, they would do wonderful things with it.
Yeah, definitely.
But if they don't get hold of it, then I'm all for Beetlejuice themed stuff, Jaws themed stuff, Back to the Future, because in my opinion, these IPs are timeless. And I'd much rather see them than Wicked.
Yeah. And to be fair, like, they are lacking that modern ride system that the other parks have. Like, when Monsters Unchained, the ride system on that is incredible. The ride system on the new Harry Potter attraction is incredible. But the Studios Park doesn't really have anything that innovative there anymore.
No.
So I do think that a really good dark ride would be a good shout as well. If you put in one of these rides, like, to be fair, like the one Monsters Unchained with the Robo-Arm would probably be a great Back to the Future attraction, of some kind, one of Doc Brown's crazy experiments.
So bouncing you from different bits of the past and the future.
Exactly, There's so many things you could do with it. So I think that bringing some new technology in is really needed badly at the park.
100%. So I think we can leave it there on the subject of Universal Studios. I think it would be fair to say at this point, we definitely think it's the weakest link of the Universal Orlando Resort parks. But let's see how it goes going forward. So that is all for today. If you have enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button. It's a little thumbs up below. If you haven't liked it, hit the thumbs down. Let us know in the comments. Have you enjoyed this sort of feedback on Universal Studios Florida? We'd love to know what you think in the comments section below. Many thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.